Do you want a stronger, more connected marriage without having to schedule appointments, pay a hefty fee, or find a babysitter? Connected and Committed is a 6-week self-study course designed to help you break unhealthy cycles, communicate with clarity, rebuild trust, and reignite intimacy on your own. Each week, you will dive into 3 powerful recorded coaching sessions, practical exercises, and expert-backed strategies that create lasting change. Whether you're feeling disconnected or just want to deepen your bond, this course is going to guide you every single step of the way. Purchase grants you lifetime access and can be done with your spouse or on your own. Invest in your marriage today. Visit the link in the show notes to learn more. Marriage isn't supposed to feel like roommates, but it doesn't have to feel like a war either. Hi, I'm Cameron Alricki, certified marriage coach and a relationship expert. Every week on Married and Connected, I bring you real talk, hard truths, and practical tools you can start using right away. Whether you've been married 2 years or 42, this is where you'll find hope, encouragement, and steps that actually work. So let's make your marriage feel good again, starting right now. Hi, friend. Welcome back to another episode of the Married and Connected podcast. I am Cameron Alricki, your host for the podcast, and I'm so excited that you are here today because we are digging into the things that we don't say, and it may be because we're tired or because the kids are finally asleep or because we are afraid of starting a fight that we don't really have the energy to finish. And if you found yourself in that roommate phase where the most intimate conversation that you've had this week is about whose turn it is to take the trash out or who's picking up the kids, I want you to know that I have been there and I have sat in that silence that you are experiencing right now. And here is the truth. I work with couples every single day that have also sat in that silence or are doing that currently. And it's often just buried resentment. So we're going to talk about the top 4 conversations that you need to be having with your spouse, what it looks like, what it feels like, how to start those conversations, all of the things. And today we're going to look at the conversations that couples most often skip, the ones that lead to divorce court if they're left unaddressed. As always, we are pulling from the masters, Gottman, Brené Brown, and the life-changing principles of emotional sobriety, of course, to give you the tools to bridge that gap. So conversation number 1, a State of the Union address. Every single week, couples need to be having the State of the Union address. Now, what is that? Well, number 1, it's a conversation that focuses on emotional safety and maintenance of your marriage. It also eliminates so much mental and emotional overload. It also helps both you and your spouse be on the same page. So what is it? Gottman's research tells us that successful couples have this State of the Union meeting at least once a week. Now, we choose to do this on Sundays. A lot of my couples that I work with also do this on Sundays. That just seems to be like the start of the week for everybody. Now, here's the thing. Most couples avoid this because they think it sounds like work. But here's what I'm going to tell you. If you are a type A personality, you're going to love this because it's organization. It makes sure that everything is neat and tidy and planned out, figured out, and nothing falls through the cracks. Men typically like it because of the organizational skills, because it's strategy. You're working on your strategy for the week, and that is what's really important. You're going to sit down, you're going to have a conversation that addresses 6 to 8 important topics of your marriage every single week, and you are then going to answer several questions about your marriage. What's it feel like right now? What's it like to be with me? How can I show up for you better? And for a lot of people, this works really well because these are the conversations that you're not normally having. Here is what it sounds like. Hey, what went well with us this week? Where did we miss each other? How do we address the teeny tiny little paper cut cracks before they become huge earthquakes in our marriage? That's the kind of thing. Now, if you are wanting the template for this, you can join my free school community, SKOOL. Just click the link in the show notes. And when you join that school community, you're not only going to get this template under resources, you're also going to get 350 connection questions. That's 40 per month that you get that are designed for open-ended conversations for you and your spouse to get reconnected, to learn about each other, to get to know each other for who you are now, not just who you were when you were dating 20 years ago. So all of that is going to help you reconnect and better your marriage and be part of that State of the Union address every single week. Here is your tool though. When you're doing this State of the Union address, you can also call it like a weekly marriage business meeting or something like that. If you're not running your marriage like a business, then you're probably destined to fail. If you're not actually putting strategy and logic and preparation behind it, you wouldn't just go into a business and be like, well, I mean, if it works, right? Like, you're going to actually try. You're going to actually plan for things. You're going to actually look at what's not working and reflect on what is working and better those things that aren't and increase the things that are. So here's the thing. When you start these conversations, you're not going to start with, you never listen to me. You're going to start with, I've been feeling a little bit lonely and I would just really like to touch base. Do you hear the difference there? This is about taking 100% responsibility for your own side of the street. So instead of pointing a finger at our partner and blaming our spouse for our unhappiness, we say, hey, I noticed that I got really reactive when the house was messy on Tuesday. I know that I'm working on my own triggers, but I would love it if we could brainstorm a better system. The reflection to this is you're going to ask yourself, am I a safe place for my spouse to be honest about literally anything? Can my spouse always come to me, no matter what, without fear of judgment, without fear of being shut down, without fear of being rejected? Am I a good team player? That's going to be really, really important. Conversation number 2 is about financial values. And here's the thing. We're going to focus on security versus significance. Money, when we are talking about it, money is rarely about math. The fact that there's too little of it or the fact that we have an overabundance means absolutely nothing. It's about what money represents. Okay. So for some people, money is about security. It's about the fear of being homeless or never having enough. For others, it's about respect. The more money you have, the more respect you have. It's about freedom. When we have more money, we're able to do more things. We're able to make decisions differently or better for our family. When we have more money, we're able to do those things. We're allotted more choice. It also might mean significance. It might mean that the more money we have, the more significant we feel. Let's run through an example here. Let's say that your husband wants to buy a boat because it represents freedom and family time. Let's say that you don't want the boat because all you see is that the bank account is going to drop and you're going to feel insecure and terrified. Now, here's how you start that conversation. And it's a little bit easier because budget is one of those topics that you're going to talk about in that State of the Union address. So when you sit down, instead of saying, oh, we're not getting the boat, I'm terrified, that we don't need it, instead of getting defensive, we're going to say, I'd really like to talk about our money stories. What did money feel like in your house growing up? Was it a source of stress or joy for you? If you talk about these conversations and every single month in those connection questions, which are also listed in the school app under resources, there's financial conversations every single month as well. So you're actually able to get on the same page and learn from each other about what these topics mean to you. And when you understand that, now you're able to actually dream within conflict. And this is one of the tools that Dr. Gottman talks about so frequently, is that a lot of times the money, it has nothing to do with the money. The problem is not about the problem. The problem is deeper than the problem. And most of the time, the problem is about a dream that is going unrecognized or being dismissed or being rejected. So we're not going to argue about the purchase specifically. We're going to argue about the meaning. So the idea here is that when you come to the conversation, you're coming with the idea that you want to understand the dream behind your partner's desire. You want to understand their fears and you want to help them understand your fears, especially if you are the one saying no. Why are you saying no? Do you have a reason to say no before you say no, or are you just saying no as a gut reaction? Those are really important. And when we get down to the meaning of it, now we're able to compromise. We're able to run numbers differently. We're less defensive. We're able to come from a place of understanding and curiosity versus judgment, rejection, and automatic reactions. Conversation number 3. Now, if you have little ears that are listening to this podcast, I would really advise that you hit pause on this and come back to it later when those little ears are no longer listening. This conversation is the sexual intimacy and desire gap. The focus of this conversation is about vulnerability and connection. And this is the one that everybody avoids because it feels so high stakes and potentially shameful. And Brené Brown says that vulnerability is the birthplace of connection. If you can't talk about your sex life, you aren't fully connected. I will also say that if you don't feel like you can talk about your sex life is like a level 1 out of the 10 that it could be. So here's what the conversation sounds like. Most couples only want to talk sex when someone is being rejected. We need to talk about it when we're in a place not in the bedroom. So maybe on a car ride or even going on a walk together, sitting outside on the deck with our favorite beverage, watching the sunset, something like that. And the practical tool here is that you're going to ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, how connected do you feel to me physically right now? And what's one small thing that's non-sexual that helps you feel more in the mood for intimacy later? Having that conversation right there gives you and your partner an in to your partner. When you guys are having these conversations, you're learning about each other. You're letting your partner into your world. Dr. Gottman calls that love mapping. It's the foundational element to building a friendship in your marriage. And a lot of times, if you are in that roommate stage, that is the one thing that you are missing, is that friendship that creates the warmth and the excitement and the passion and the welcome feeling of your home, of your marriage, of your bedroom life. Now, if things have been a little bit cold for a while, own it. Own that and say, I felt a distance between us physically, and I realize it's because I've been pulling away. I want to find our way back to each other. Now, again, with those connection questions that you will find in the school app, you're going to have several options every single month that are on sex as well. So with 40 questions every single month, you're pretty much hitting all of the different topics that you need to hit, including these 4 conversations every single month. Conversation number 4 is about the future self. Now, this is a conversation about vision. Men typically like this conversation because men are big picture visionaries. Women are more detailed to that. So if you only talk about the kids and you only talk about the mortgage, you are building a life around a project, not a person. And that makes a very big deal because it makes your marriage feel very cold. It makes your partner not feel as close or as connected to you. That is one of the biggest things that women need the most, is closeness to their partner. And when the kids leave, the project ends. So then what? Then we feel like we are in this house all alone. We don't know our partner. And that's typically what leads to a gray divorce or a silver divorce. Now, the research on this is that this is Gottman's shared meaning level of the house, also within that friendship building section. So how do we even start this conversation? We sit down and we say, who are we going to be in 10 years? Not what will our kids be doing, but who will we be, you and me, as a couple? What adventures do we still want to have? What's working? What's not? What do we want to add to our life so that we will be best friends for the next 70 years, even after our children have gone and figured out their lives and found careers and found their potential partners and all the things? The goal of this conversation is to move you from that roommate stage back to best friends. because every single marriage should basically feel like a sleepover with your best friend every single night. So when you have the conversation about your future selves, the biggest tool that I want you to use is an I appreciate list. End every day for the next week telling your spouse one thing that you admire about who they are becoming. Not just what they did for you or for the family, but who they are as an individual. This is very often something that is brought to my attention when I'm working with couples, is that one of them will say either A, my partner doesn't appreciate me at all. I feel very underappreciated. We don't have that conversation. They don't tell me what they like about me. They don't tell me what they appreciate about me. Or they will say they appreciate things I did, but not say anything about who I am. So if I were to ask you right now, if I were sitting next to you and I were to say, hey friend, why do you love your partner? What do you love about them? Not necessarily what they've done. Well, I like it because she cooks for me. I like it because he gets the oil changed in my car. I like it because she does a really good job of taking care of our kids in our house. I like it because he works really hard for our family. Fun fact, those are all things that your partner does. It doesn't talk anything about their compassion, their empathy, their generosity, their ambition, their intelligence, their kindness. It doesn't talk about any of the attributes of who they are as a person, only on things that they have done. And that is where we get it wrong. Your partner needs to know why you love them. Your partner needs to know that who they are is absolutely admirable and respectable and incredible to you. Now, here's the deal, friends. Marriage isn't supposed to be a grind. I hear a lot that, oh my gosh, this is just so much. This is so overwhelming. I feel like I need to be checking a box of 150 things a day. No, it's about where you put your concentration. Marriage is supposed to be your safe harbor. And if these conversations feel scary, that's okay. Growth is uncomfortable, but I want you to remember that you can have a happy, easy marriage. Ask yourself, if our marriage were easy, what would we be doing different? Would we be going on more vacations? Would we be spending more time with family? Would we be saying no to things that we're saying yes to right now? What would we be doing? And then go do that. Let it be easy. Why does every conversation that you have to turn into an argument? That's childishness. It's self-centeredness. It doesn't have to be that way. You can absolutely have a happy, easy marriage. I help couples every single day do just that. And when you're going through these conversations, the growth is uncomfortable. There may be some growing pains. You may have to come back to the drawing board 2, 3, 4 times in order to fix the strategy. But if you're both being a safe space for your partner to land, a safe space for your partner to come to and talk about anything at all, when you're having these conversations, remember that it's all about the startup. 90% of the time, how a conversation starts is how it will end. So if you are starting it with, I want to buy a boat and you never let me buy anything, instead of, here's what I'm thinking, what are your thoughts? Always go back to, is there a more mature, a kinder, or a softer way to say this? Because when you have that soft startup, most likely the conversation is going to end softly as well. When you have a hard startup, there's a 90% chance that the conversation is going to end hard as well. Here is your homework for this week. Pick one of these 4 conversations, not all 4, just one. Take your spouse out for coffee, go for a walk. When you are walking, it tells your brain that you are on the same page, but also that you're moving in a forward direction. So the conversations that you're having while walking feel less threatening. Your nervous system feels less threatened when you're in nature and you're both walking in the same direction. Make sure that you are away from the kids and the house and just ask one question. If you are feeling stuck, and you need someone to help you navigate the waters, that's what I'm here for. You can book a one-on-one coaching call using the link in the show notes. You can also, like I've said throughout the podcast, join our free school community where we are all working on being more connected. There is a women's group in there. There's a men's group in there. There's several workshops that I've done that are free that will help with bettering your marriage that way. There's a ton of resources. So join that school community for free. It's SKOOL on your app store. And again, it's a free community where you can get all of this. And we are all working on becoming better spouses. If this episode has helped you, please leave a review and share it with a friend who may be feeling like a roommate today. All you need to know is that you've got this, and these conversations are absolute game changers in your marriage. So have one this week and one next week. And by the end of the month, you will have had all 4. Until next week, stay married and connected. This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional counseling or therapy. Every couple story is unique, so take what's helpful and leave the rest. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that neither I, Cameron Thompson-Alaricki, Married and Connected, or Recognizing Potential Coaching are responsible for any outcomes related to what you apply from this show, especially if you are not a client of mine.